Yeah. All right. Welcome everyone to this second Carleton Summit for the Envision Carleton Comprehensive Plan Update. My name is Steve Faust. I work for a company called 3J Consulting. We're a land use planning, community engagement, and civil engineering firm out of Beaverton. With me is Natalie Knowles. Also, special thanks to Amy for guiding us through this project and helping us plan. And thanks to all of you for taking some of the time out of your evening to join us tonight. So how many people here were at the first Carleton Summit when we kind of talked about visioning? And so one thing we're going to do tonight is out of that and some online participation, we drafted a community vision, which has been reviewed by our project advisory committee. Raise your hand if you're a project advisory committee member. Yeah, two of us here this evening. So they had a chance to look at it. City Council had a chance to look at it as well. So we'll review that with you. It's in pretty much its final form, but nothing's really final until City Council adopts the comprehensive plan at the end of our process. Tonight, so we kind of did the visioning part, and now we're moving into developing the actual comprehensive plan, which the most important part of the comprehensive plan is the goals and policies. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. You're going to have multiple ways to participate. So I'm going to give a presentation, and we'll have some just opportunity for you to comment as we go along in this presentation. When we're done, or actually anytime you want, we've got the goals and policies posted here on the wall. And there are sets of green and red stickers. If there's policies that you especially like, give it a green sticker. If there's ones that you do not support, give it a red sticker. There's also Post-it notes. If there's ideas that you don't see up there that you want to see policies written about, we're interested to hear that too. And so that's the second way to participate. You have a comment form. If you prefer not to do that whole rigmarole, you can just write on the comment form and either leave that with us tonight, or give it to Amy at your leisure. And then finally, there's going to be, if you go to the Envision Carleton webpage, or you can just Google Envision Carleton, we'll have the link up here, but it will take you to an online survey, which is, the link is there right now. It's not live right now. We wanted to wait till right after the meeting. So we'll either do that tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, make that link live. So encourage you to share that information with your friends and neighbors as well. So start with what is a vision and comprehensive plan. We covered this at the last one, but I always think it's helpful to do so again. So we start out our process doing two things. One is preparing a background report that kind of looks at existing conditions in Carleton. You can get this report on that same Envision Carleton website. The other thing we do is the visioning. So the background report tells us where are we now, what are things like today in Carleton, and the vision tells us where does the community want to see Carleton in the future, which a comprehensive plan is for a 20-year planning horizon. So we're looking at 2042, pretty much when we're looking at vision. So we've done those two things, and now we're here tonight talking about goals and policies. We're going to take the comments. We already reviewed these with our project advisory committee. We're going to take comments from you and the ones we get online and make revisions to those policies before we finalize them. And then we're going to come back to you one more time. There's going to be one more summit where we drill down one level deeper than policies to objectives. Some of the how do we envision these policies being achieved? And then we take all that information and we put it into the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan is really the main plan that guides land use decision making in the city. Physical on the ground activities and human activities, as I was going to say, man-made human activities as well, like building, development. I'll go over. This is all within the framework of Oregon's statewide planning program, and I will review some of those details with you in just a few moments. In terms of our schedule, here we are in October. That gold star is this meeting here tonight. We'll be planning a briefing for City Council. Probably the schedule's a little bit off, probably in early November. Our Project Advisory Committee will meet one more time, and then we'll have one more Carlton Summit. That will likely be the first half of December. So we're bumping just a few weeks from what's shown here. And then we'll prepare the final comprehensive plan, and it'll go to Planning Commission and City Council for adoption. That'll likely be completed sometime in the first quarter of 2023. All right, the Carlton vision statement. So some of you, this will be your first time seeing it. For others, you've probably seen this before. In 2042, Carlton is a great little town with rural heritage and small town character, family-friendly neighborhoods, a prosperous economy, and well-planned infrastructure. And then we kind of have a paragraph on each one. Just in case people can't see that far, I'll go ahead and read it. Carlton is a charming and welcoming town where neighbors interact frequently and take care of each other. People are active in local affairs and gather to celebrate at Carlton Fun Days and other community events. Residents are proud of the city's agricultural legacy, which is visible through its pastoral views, preservation of historic structures, and local farmers market. Carlton fosters a unique blend of urban convenience and rural lifestyle. And this all came out of our community outreach that we did starting in February or so, February through May, and at the first Carlton Summit. That's where we got all the ideas that we then pieced together into this vision. Family-friendly neighborhoods. Carlton is a great place to grow up, raise a family, and remain active throughout later stages of life. The community invests in the youth through an excellent school system and plentiful opportunities to grow and thrive. Diverse, quality, and attainable housing is available to residents throughout all stages of life. Paths and trails connect people to schools, shops, parks, and neighboring communities, making Carlton a safe place to live and work. Prosperous economy. Carlton's diverse businesses meet the daily needs of its residents and offer great destinations to attract visitors. Carlton's growing downtown is universally loved for its vibrancy and charm. Widely recognized as Oregon's wine country capital, a variety of industries offer stable, well-paying jobs that help maintain a superb quality of life. And then finally, well-planned infrastructure. Carlton boasts modern and reliable public facilities and services that support carefully planned growth. The transportation network provides safe and efficient travel routes for walkers, bicyclists, and vehicles. Public transit is available to help people meet their daily needs. Natural systems are protected to enhance wildlife habitat and provide access to nature. Community facilities like Wynberg Park, Carlton Pool, Library, and Community Center give residents places to gather and have fun. Carlton is a resilient community that is prepared for natural disasters and enjoys expert, timely emergency response services. So this is all what folks said they want their community to be in 2042. So you might say, well, that's not the way it is today. But the plan is, this is where we want to be 20 years from now. Any questions about the vision statement? All right. Now we'll get into the draft goals and policies. We are going to structure the comprehensive plan according to Oregon's statewide land use planning goals. Here are the goals. There's actually 19 goals. I probably should have wrote all of them here. Some of them don't apply. Goal 2 or goal 3 and 4 is supposed to be in italics. Agricultural lands and forest lands, those really apply to counties and their comprehensive plans, because in cities, you're supposed to have urbanized land and preserving the county lands for things like agricultural and forest. And then the other ones I don't have up here that don't apply is goal 15 is the Willamette River Greenway, so having to do with for communities along the Willamette River. And then the last 4 are what are called the coastal goals for coastal communities and those areas in between where cities kind of interact with like beaches and dunes, the ocean, estuaries, and the other one. So those don't apply either. So we're really looking at 12 goals. 1 and 2. Oh, that's what I did. I italicized number 2. I didn't need to. Citizen involvement in land use planning, and then 5 through 14. And that's kind of the structure or framework that we'll be using for the comprehensive plan. And so I'm going to go through each goal and policy, and I think with the number of people here, we can pause after each one, and you're welcome we'll see if people have any thoughts or comments. Natalie's going to record those up there. Like I said, you can also participate later by the stickers or writing on the boards here. You can, for those who just got here, you can, there's a comment form you can fill out, and there's also going to be an online, there is an online survey that people can give it on. So the first goal is citizen involvement. Oh, I should mention that we don't have to do this, but we chose to use the actual statewide planning goals for the goal statements. There's no rule, it's just a very straightforward way to be in compliance with the state planning framework, but we don't have to. If people don't like what some of the goal statements say, we are free to change those. So you can take comments on the goals and the policies, but as a place to start, we use those state planning goals. And then for the policies, we reviewed the existing comprehensive plan and brought some of those policies forward. We listened to all the community input we got so far in the process and used that information. And then we looked to other communities and to look at their goals and policies to see if there was anything that we could learn from what other communities are doing. Because there's potentially a lot to cover in a comprehensive plan. We want to make sure we're checking all the boxes and not missing anything that's important to all of you. So citizen involvement. To maintain a citizen involvement plan that ensures the opportunity for citizens to be involved in all phases of the planning process. Our policies. The first one has to do with using a variety of methods to educate and inform citizens about the planning process. Number two is engaging citizens to get their opinions throughout the planning process, and especially to reach out to populations or community groups that aren't always represented in these types of processes. And then the third is using different forms of communication to ensure community awareness and involvement. So for each of the goals, I'll do what I'm going to do now, which is pause and just see if there's anything, if you have any comments on these policies, or if there's anything missing that you'd like to see added to the goal and policies about citizen involvement.
I just think you've tried really hard to get in touch with everybody. I'm surprised it's not 200 people here. I know you tried every angle.
We certainly have tried, yeah. If there's no thoughts about citizen involvement, I'll move on to the next one. Goal 2 is land use planning. To maintain a land use planning process and policy framework as a basis for all decisions and actions related to the use of the land and to assure an adequate factual base for such decisions and actions. So really doing your land use planning and making decisions based on facts. Our policies are review and update or amend the comprehensive plan every 10 years. I remember our project advisory committee kind of batted around the 10 years. Should it be more? Should it be less? And we landed on 10 years is what we thought made sense. Ensure future land needs are analyzed and addressed in the city's zoning, subdivision, and design ordinances. And then use intergovernmental agreements with Yamhill County and other public agencies to ensure coordination and especially relative to growth management. Any thoughts about the land use goal or policies?
So we already have a comprehensive plan in place, right?
You do, yeah. I believe
So what are you going to amend it to? I guess is the question.
this will be replacing that plan completely.
Completely.
This process, yeah, will all new goals and policies, all new background information, the brand new vision that I presented will all be in the new comprehensive plan.
So how long does this plan stay in effect until we change?
The current plan the current plan will be in effect until City Council adopts a new comprehensive plan, which we expect will be probably February or March of 2020.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
There are some golden policies that have come forward from the existing.
Yeah.
Because we were mentioning earlier that, some of this is a continuing growth. And that sort of thing. So those are marked with an asterisk.
Okay. So you're looking first quarter next year?
for the new comprehensive plan to go into effect, yeah. And just for those who don't know, we also, as part of our work with the city, are going to be updating the city's development code. That work hasn't started yet. We're having a kickoff meeting in a few weeks, but that process will start too, and there'll be opportunities for people who are interested and to participate in that as well. The goals and policies, I feel like more people typically get involved because it's a little more accessible than the minutia of the development code, but there will be opportunities to participate in that process as well.
So everything's in process right now will fall under this plan that's already in effect right now.
So this plan is not in effect yet.
Right, so everything that's in process right now will fall under the old plan, correct?
Right.
Sure, all right. Running.
All right. Moving on to goal 5, natural resources, scenic and historic areas, and open spaces. To conserve open space, protect natural and scenic resources, and preserve historic and cultural resources. And our policies, protect and enhance the natural resources of the area. Number 2, explore ways to create and maintain an open space network, especially greenways and open space along creeks. We do differentiate here between open space and parks. There's a section on parks, a goal related to parks a little bit later. And then the third policy is identifying sites and structures related to the history of the state and the city that should be identified, protected, and enhanced. So kind of historic preservation.
Who's identifying those sites? And if we want to get one recognized, how do we go about it?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have code in place relative to, well, it's probably something you do with the state, right?
Right.
Yeah, so historic preservation happens at the state level, and there's specific procedures related to that. You know, that's something when we get to the objectives level of this, we might even put in there like citing, you know, work with the state and how one would do that.
So where does our urban forest fall? Does it fall in the open space network, like our street trees, our mature park trees?
So, good question. For now, we put it under goal 11, which is the public facilities and services, because it's related, because those were related to the street
Right.
versus open spaces. But if something occurs to someone and you want something about trees, like an open space, that's something that could be added to this goal.
What about our park trees? We have some old growth and mature park trees. Are they going to be in our open space network?
I think that we could add a policy to that effect.
Perfect. Yeah, I would like to do that.
Yeah. Well, we can add something related to trees. I mean, you could say that it is falls under the protection of natural resources, the first policy, but there's nothing that says we can't be more specific and talk about trees as well, you know, with their own policy or with an objective.
I don't really understand the open space.
That can be a variety. Usually, we differentiate between active parks and more like natural areas, right? Like we said, areas along.
The railroad line,
Could be,
is that open space?
could be. Do you have an open space zone?
We do not.
You do not. Okay. Some cities have like a park and then an open space, 2 different zones. But lots of times it's areas along like riparian areas along rivers and creeks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Partially, privately owned.
Right, but Concrete Park has the concrete runs through the park and there's am I right? There's the concrete park, the wetlands there. Yeah. Or, yeah, so that, the wetlands where you don't go.
Yeah, wetlands would fall under that.
Can we say like open spaces in subdivision? Can we say we want open space? That kind of like expect to have that?
I'm just trying to think about that. Yeah,
Well, yeah, so we kind of do have a little bit of like the create and
an open space network.
create.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we could,
But could you write that down? Maybe we can put an objective to that. Other questions or comments about goal 5? natural areas, cultural, historic resources. Okay. Goal 6, to maintain and improve the quality of the air, water, and land resources of the city. Policy number 1 is protecting air, water, and land quality from the impacts of development through state or federal environmental quality standards. 2 is, and this came, I remember specifically, came directly out of our last summit and maybe through the survey too, but encourage lighting design and practices that reduce the negative impacts of light pollution. I think there were several people who were talking about the dark skies movement. And then 3rd, participate in appropriate environmental quality planning efforts on a regional level. So working with the county mostly, I think, in terms of environmental protection. Anything missing here or anything you'd like to see changed? Goal 7, to protect people and property from the effects of natural hazards. The first one is about limiting development in floodplains. That's kind of a long one. We might want to move some of that information to an objective to make the policy a little bit shorter, but based on data, basically. And then number 2, promote earthquake hazard awareness and hazard mitigation activities by providing information to residents, such as on retrofitting measures that can reduce the vulnerability of dwellings. So really kind of thinking to the Cascade event that we hear so much about, that will happen someday, possibly, but yeah, really kind of emergency preparedness, right? Natural disaster preparedness. Any questions or comments here?
Are you saying, I'm sorry, are you saying like they're gonna build the houses more equipped for this if they build a house or a new building? Or
Well,
you
there
saying-
are for new stuff that you can retrofit existing homes. It's probably not going to help in that Cascade event, but basically when a home is retrofitted, this isn't my area of expertise, but they kind of use brackets to bolt houses to the foundation so they don't slide off the foundation during an earthquake. That's one of the things that's done. I know in newer buildings, there's other engineering techniques that I am not familiar with.
But it says limit development in floodplains.
Yep,
So how are we gonna limit development in floodplains?
you would do that through your zoning code.
Is it zoning code?
Through the zone, yeah, through the development code is how you have regulations on, under what conditions new homes can be built in floodplain.
Okay, and what defines a floodplain?
Floodplain is defined through FEMA. 100-year floodplain is defined through, in cooperation with FEMA. I don't know.
We use FEMA's floodplain map. It's available on their website, free, pretty interactive. We use theirs to determine our website.
So FEMA came in and studied Pond Creek and decided where the floodplain was? And we have that on file?
Yes, FEMA has it available on their website and also through our website, you can go to our zoning map and get rough area as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We need to go over notes on this right here. We have a few more, yeah. Number 3, maintaining procedures to advise applicants for development permits of the areas known to have potential for natural hazards. So other hazards that we think about here are things like unstable soils, steep slopes, where there's a possibility of landslides. So that's basically saying the city, when development permits come in, should be reviewing that information with the applicant to make sure people aren't building in dangerous areas. And then develop a disaster preparedness plan. That's where I knew that somewhere.
Yeah.
That outlines how the city will prevent, protect against, mitigate, respond to, and recover from natural disasters. I'm assuming right now the city doesn't have a plan like that.
We have an emergency response plan.
Okay.
It is needing an update.
A lot of communities are in need of updating that.
Yeah.
Yeah. becoming more.
Yeah, becoming more common.
Yes.
Goal 8, recreational needs. This is where we talk more about parks. To satisfy the recreational needs of Carleton's community and visitors alike. Number 1, develop a high quality, diverse system of parks and park programs that provide access for all residents. 2, create a network of shared use pedestrian and bicycle trails to connect people with neighborhood amenities, schools, downtown, things, parks, things of that nature. And coordinate with adjacent jurisdictions to plan for and create parkland and recreational facilities.
So I have a comment on the policy number 2, on pedestrian and bicycle trails to enable connected to parks and public amenities. Double thumbs up for that policy. I wonder if it belongs also in a different goal, because this is recreational needs. And it's great to have bicycle paths and go to fun places with fun on. But if I need to go to the dentist, I want to save bicycle route to get to the dentist, or to the grocery store, or to any of those places, and also with parking or with walking. So either we need to duplicate that in another section. I don't know. I just wonder if that connectivity between parks and neighborhoods.
So let's put a pin in that, and when we get to the transportation goal, we'll make sure that there's something there and decide if we need to make a change to this one.
Okay, thank you.
Because we could have this one focus less on connectivity and reword it to focus more on the recreational aspect of,
But I love it that you're connecting parks,
yeah,
and I love it that you're connecting neighborhoods,
Yeah.
because those are all
and conditions that encourage growth of existing businesses, entrepreneurs, and the attraction of new businesses to create jobs with a range of wages. We know that, you can't just focus on retail jobs because that's not going to support everyone's family. So you're wanting to look and make sure that your community has access to jobs, higher wage jobs as well, that people can, sustainably live on. And then 3, implement policies and programs to support and encourage commercial development in downtown. So kind of a downtown focused policy.
So as I think about economic development and I think about the major industry in our community, it's agricultural forestry, right? So maybe we want to have a particular focus on supporting those particular industries.
I think that's great. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we don't.
So,
Exactly. It's about the 20 years out.
Yeah.
Right.
Working on,
Right.
right? So we don't know the conditions aren't here yet.
Right, and there, I mean, at the ODOT meeting, there was a really interesting idea that was posed that would actually increase the downtown area. So I think that with all of our heads together, we can, think outside the box of where we're in. I tend to get really trapped in where we are and have a hard time, but I know there's great minds in this town, and there's ways.
There are a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, over 20 years, the town will likely grow. A lot of communities, smaller communities, focus on making it hospitable for home business, people to work out of their home, and that is often tech jobs. There's a lot of different ways. And diversify is right in the goal statement, but we can look at maybe including that in one of the policies as well.
I actually think this would be an important moment to sort of, because I hear it all the time when I come to these meetings. Oh my gosh, we don't want any growth, right? Which I hear, like I would actually not want growth either, right? But to really clarify how our Oregon land use plans work, that we don't have a choice about growth. The
Yeah.
state of Oregon. So will you please explain that? so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
We're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, and this comprehensive plan is really the tool that how the state makes sure that each community throughout the state is planning for its share of growth throughout the state. When you're doing, so I mentioned this economic opportunities analysis, there's also something called the housing needs analysis. So each city is required to plan 20 years of economic growth and 20 years of housing growth to accommodate your population growth. And so, yeah, the state requires that each community do that 20 years of planning. And those 2 exercises, like I mentioned, look at projected growth in terms of jobs or population, and then your land supply. And if you have a sufficient amount of land, that's pretty much where it ends. But if you have a deficit of land over 20 years, then communities need to kind of do one of two things or both. One is first look inside the current urban growth boundary to see if any policy changes can help accommodate that growth, like maybe you do some zone changes in some areas to allow a little bit higher density of development. The other thing that communities can do is look to expand the urban growth boundary. So,
I'm not sure if this is the right place to bring this up. The one thing that concerns me somewhat that's growing is, and commercially, is I don't want to see a chain store. I don't want to see a Dollar General in Carlton. Can we put something like that into this policy that all, I know that like my daughter lives in the town, they don't allow any chain stores.
yeah, I think we could do some policies in that regard. I'd have to kind of do a little research to find specifically what we're allowed to do and not do in a policy, but there's also things you can do in your development code in terms of, you know, the size of business, you know, buildings or businesses. There are different tools that you have to try to keep, you know, promote local businesses and you know, not attract chain stores if that's something